Welcome everyone to season 6, episode 4 of the Hall of Fame show. And man, there's a lot of Hall of Fame stuff that just comes at you from nowhere. One we knew about, one we had no idea because I don't think they have an idea. But before we get there, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Kirk Buchner along with Evan Nolan. And we run this joint on halloffame.com, and big news coming out soon for the United States Athletics Hall of Fame, www.theusahof.com. We have our ballot ready. We are sending that out shortly. We now have a digital ballot, so I'm hoping that by the end of the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be trying to solicit from people we've already used in the past, some new contacts that we've made, and some contacts maybe we'll just throw it out there.
Yep. And I have some people I've reached out to who haven't necessarily responded yet. I'm just to say, hey, here's a ballot. You want to do it? That's great. And see what happens.
And it's something I think that's very special, that is growing, that is, we're probably going to have our longest voting cycle. Not probably, we will have our longest voting cycle that we've ever had, at least. So that should be really good. But I'll be dedicating probably my entire Tuesday to that because I didn't realize it's President's Day. So I actually booked I don't know these things.
Well, when I was a kid, we used to have two holidays. We used to have Washington's birthday off and Lincoln's birthday off. And they're like, I think Lincoln's born on the 6th of February and Washington's like the 11th, somewhere around there. And so they just combine them into one thing because you can't have two random days off because it was like what it was celebrated on the day of. So whatever day that was. So they just created President's Day out of it. So
makes sense. So yeah, it's my first one in the U.S. living as a Canadian.
You celebrate the traditional way. Go buy a mattress. President's Day mattress sales are about all we got going for it. By the way, I know we're going to talk about Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so I'm wearing my
War t-shirt.
But I do have to say it is a little cold in here, so I may have to put on my USA. Yeah,
this is in reference to the United States very convincing 3-1 victory. Hey, Soup, that's the first time Soup's made an appearance.
He jumped in my lap. He's like, "You're putting your coat on. Are we going somewhere?"
Nice. And congratulations on that. I've said for a while, I've said this to my Canadian friends.
You were nervous about this.
I was very nervous, and rightfully so. This was the most complete American hockey team that I've ever seen that's ever been iced. As we're recording this Sunday morning, my Saturday night was watching and getting sort of dunked on by my American friends on X, X Twitter, whatever we want to call it. And what am I going to do? I'm going to take it. It's I saw that the Kachucks and JT Miller knew that they were going to like start this off with a fight.
Yeah, 3 fights within 9 seconds.
Yeah, and I think that the booing of the American national anthem got to them a little bit. I've gone on record. I'm not a fan of that. And before we went on, Evan and I were talking a little bit of politics, and
it's a troubled time between the two countries right now, which over a lot of rhetoric.
Right, over a lot of things I don't want to go into too much detail, but I don't think it's ever going to happen, nor does anyone really want it to happen. But I think what Americans don't understand, and maybe they're starting to, Canada has zero interest. If you were to poll Canadians, if they wanted to be a 51st state, you'd probably get 99.7% saying no. They don't want it. I don't think Americans want it either, bluntly.
Some of the northern states would be very happy for the votes. I'll tell you that much coming out.
Oh, sure. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, it's been a great relationship. And as much as I can respect that people are anti-Trump, in Canada, you're not going to find too many pro-Trump people. This is not a shot at Trump, but we're keeping our political stuff out of this as much as I can. But I'm just going to try to give my perspective on this, just as a Canadian who studied pop culture, sports, all this other stuff. The reality is, booing the United States anthem, to me, and I've had some people disagree with me online on that, I find a little disrespectful because you're not booing. If you want to boo Trump, great. If Trump is there and you boo him,
Yeah,
and he'd get booed out of any arena in Canada.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I fine. I felt bad for poor Michelle Kwan. What did she do?
Yeah, that's true.
But she took it. I think she knew going in.
Yeah.
She's not stupid.
Well, I mean, the next championship will be in Boston coming up. So, and the U.S. is going to be there. The question is, Canada has to play Finland coming up.
Yeah, they got to play. They got to beat Finland, and if they beat Finland, they pretty much control their destiny, I believe.
Right. Well, yeah, it comes down to how the U.S. does against Sweden. I think
Sweden lost both their games, so they're going in with 2 points. Actually, Canada's only going in with 2 points also because Sweden's losses were in overtime. So it's possible that it could be Sweden going in.
I think all 3 teams have 2 points, correct? One in overtime as well.
Yeah. So So all 3 teams have 2 points.
So it's going to come down to if the U.S. loses, and then there may be goal differential for all you know.
It could, or how they win because
how they win, or there's all sorts of rules. Regardless. But there's a decent. I'd say there's a decent chance that it's U.S. and Canada again in Boston in a couple of days here,
which would be the most fun outcome.
It would be the most fun outcome. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I have a hard time believing many Bostonians are going to end up boo the Canadian national anthem. They'll boo the Canadians, like the Montreal Canadiens.
Sure.
I have a hard time believing that would happen. So,
well, Brad Marchand's on that team, so I mean,
it's also true. I mean, that was one of the funniest things was that when you guys beat Sweden, all the Montreal fans cheering for Marchand. So
well, it's just one of those things where there have been countries I've been upset at. I couldn't bring myself to boo. I might stand there in silence.
Yeah, sure.
But to boo an anthem,
I would totally boo the Swiss national anthem if I knew what it was. No kidding.
So those are my.
How many anthems do we really know? I know Canada. I know the U.S. I know France's. I know
England.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few. Russia, Germany, Japan's is kind of cool, but like most of the national anthems,
Well, I know the theme.
I didn't know. I don't know. I
can't tell you any of the words, but
that's one of the things when you have like an international competition. You're like, oh, that's the Hungarian national anthem. God. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into what people are here for us to talk about.
Well, I just want one more thing on that. I guess because I also remember in Canada when we lost the 1981, I think it was 81 Canada Cup, and the Soviets which were our actual enemy at the time in the Cold War. They weren't booed or anything like that, but I mean, when the Soviets won and won easily in 81, they crushed Canada. They learned that they couldn't actually take the Canada Cup with them.
Oh,
so a group
never stopped Putin from taking a Patriots championship ring.
But apparently, I might have the province wrong, but I think it was a group in Saskatchewan made a replica and sent it to the Soviet Union.
Oh.
And that's what I want to feel Canada's about. You know what I mean?
How many listening devices were in that thing, I wonder? So
that might have been put by somebody else, but
because that was a big thing. The children of I think it was Sevastopol sent a piece of art that hung in the FBI director's office in the U.S. for years and years and years as a sign of cooperation between the two countries. And then they found when they took it down to remodel that there are bugs all in it. And the Russians had been listening into the FBI director's office ever since that thing came in like 1984, 1985.
They never read the story of the Trojan horse.
Yes.
But let's get to the Basketball Hall of Fame, which, as we mentioned, we're doing this Sunday morning. Because I was watching the Canada-US game, I recorded the All-Star weekend, even though I wasn't excited about it. And I was right to not be excited about it.
Yeah, it seems bad.
When you have to trot out Mac McClung as your hook, Mac McClung, I just looked this up. He has more dunk contest wins this year in the NBA than he has points.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, at what point do you bring out the Harlem Globetrotters?
Why not? I mean, like calling him an NBA player is insulting. And and again, this is not to insult what he accomplished. It was beautiful. Because I did watch I finally got to the dunk contest this morning, but it's hard to care when there are people who you don't know who they are.
Correct.
Yeah, you can dunk over a Kia. That's fantastic. You can dunk over Taco Fall, which I believe he did that the year before. Do it in a game.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, just go to Rucker Park and have those guys come in, because they're going to get as many people, the professor and all those other guys. Like, just have them come in and do stuff.
Well, so you're charging a lot of money for it. You make a lot of money for it. Tom Moran said, "Hey, we'll make you get to go in $1 million. You got $1 million for the winner for that."
That's true. What was interesting, though, I was listening to group chat on the Ringer, and they had an idea. No, it was only Rob Mahoney and Big Waz. This is Big Waz's idea, and I think you'd be on board with it, and I'm 100% on board with it as well. Make all those contests, you WWE them. So what I mean by that is you announce a few people who are definitely going to participate, and then you're like, wait a second, is that Ant Edwards music? And all of a sudden, Ant Edwards comes out of the crowd because he's there anyway and enters the dunk contest. And people aren't going to know exactly who's in it. They're like, hey, Mac McClung and a few others. And then all of a sudden, boom, 3-point contest. Oh, we got whoever going to be in there. Wait, Steph Curry? Curry's in this now? And that would make things a lot more exciting than what they're doing. Because what they're doing is silly. I mean, at least Jaylen Brown didn't do a great job at dunk contest, but at least participated a few years ago. Have we had any real superstars participate in any of these things since then?
We haven't even had mid-range stars.
Yeah. Peyton Pritchard was asked to do the 3-point contest for the Celtics. So legitimate 6th man of the year candidate, one of the most important players, one of the best teams in the league. And he's like, no, I'd rather have the time off. And that's the situation we're in for a lot of these people. It's like they have the idea of the home run contest that's going to mess up their swing and their stroke. It's not what they normally do. I don't necessarily believe that, particularly when it comes to 3-point contest, because nothing is changing. But that apparently is what happens. I mean, I wish like the Larry Bird, Dominique Wilkins, Michael Jordan, Spud Webb era of these things coming back, but it doesn't appear to be. I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, that's also, I guess, the difference between the NBA All-Star and the NHL, because technically this is a replacement of the All-Star system. When Chris and I did our preview, we were asking, we didn't know what the answer was going to be to this. How close this would feel like to an Olympic game? Come on,
pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, pretty goddamn close. And yes, and to our friend Ron Katz's point, I mean, yeah, you might be. It's all fun and games till your player gets hurt,
which may have happened to Matthew Tkachuk yesterday.
Right, but then you either go full board or you don't do anything at all. And this has been great for hockey, probably phenomenal for a lot of American fans who are watching this for the first time.
I mean, if you have the two of them on yesterday, side by side, which one are you going for? There's no question.
Well, I mean, if X is real, and you and I joke that it isn't,
it is not.
But social media would tell me that was killing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's easy. They were on at the exact same time. Yeah. And one was compelling as hell, and the other was boring as heck. As a matter of fact, if I'm the NHL, you know what I'm doing next year? I'm not doing it 4 nations. I'm doing it in 8 nations.
Well, the problem, though, with that is the rule that they set in place is that you have to be in the NHL. So, like Finland, like their biggest issue is they've got their defensive core was rocked with a couple of their players going down to injury prior to. So, I mean, Russia could put a team together. So could the Czechs.
Yep.
Unless you want to do something which again pissed me off because I hated it last time they did this, where you put in a team Europe or a team North America again. Yeah, you could, but now how much longer does that go?
I mean, it goes the same amount of time because you have 2 groups of 4. Each of plays 3 games, and then whoever wins the groups just playing the final. Don't have a semifinal. Just have group winner plays in the final. The same number,
Okay.
same amount of time, twice as many games. Well, not quite twice because you're not playing a semifinal. But I know. I'm just saying, figure out a way, because if you get Russia and the Czech Republic, you obviously can get. Then I don't know. You're right. You may need there are a couple guys from Germany, a few Latvians.
Well, Slovakia is the next one, but I would have to research to see if they could field the team.
So right. So my point is, if you're just doing people who are in the NHL, you can figure it out however you want to figure it out, right? And have like the world team for everything else. That's what you want to do. If you can do 7 and the world, I don't think that's the worst problem.
Yeah, I mean, because there's a lot of great players who are not part of this tournament. So I think I've said this to you too. So even if you win this, are you the best in the world? Well, Russia and the Czechs weren't there.
That's true.
So
I saw a lot of Czechs last night.
But we're stalling.
We are stalling. Why are we stalling?
That was a Russian thing. Get it?
There we go. Yes, I mean, it's my old joke when I was a little kid that we had in second, third grade. Why are fire engines always red? Did you ever hear that one?
No.
Books are red. 2, 2 and 2 is 4. 4 and 4 is 8. 8 and 4 is 12. 12 inches in a ruler. Queen Mary is a ruler. Queen Mary is a ship. Ships float in the sea. Fish swim in the sea. Fish have fins. The Russians beat the Finns. That's why a fire engine is always red. It's always Russian.
I've definitely never heard that before.
I was like second grade at a private school. Those are the jokes we were telling.
All right.
And so let's go finally get to the Basketball Hall of Fame. We've now buried the lead. We're 15 minutes in.
Yeah. Well, the Basketball Hall of Fame, at least one of the things, yes, I know. One of the things is, apologies, my little mini dash and Winnie is sort of like a little bit busy, but if I let her go, she might start yapping.
Understood.
One thing they do great, so let's do the compliment sandwich here. Is we know when they're going to do it. Every All-Star game All-Star weekend, sorry. On Friday, we're going to get the announcement of it. Now, the finalists are kind of all over the place.
Yes.
They used to do direct elect in their
categories.
Thank you. That's no longer the case. They're all sort of finalists. And we got 17. That's a lot to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, it wasn't all that long ago where they had only 5.
Correct.
So this is not in a great order. Just I wrote this in the order that they announced it on social media.
Sure.
So, apologies for that. So it starts off with the 2008 United States Olympic team, basically known as the Redeem Team.
Mm-hmm.
So they defeated Spain in the finals, which means that we have some interesting people who could be double inductees. Mm-hmm. Coach K was the head coach, with Jim Boeheim, Nate McMillan, Mike D'Antoni.
Yep. And
the roster, here's some people would never sniff the hall. Carlos Boozer, Jason Kidd, who's already in, LeBron James, who is going to waltz in.
Yeah. LeBron's in. Sorry, it's not LeBron. I'd say Kobe. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, yeah. We'll get there because I haven't, again, the weird order they put it.
Sorry.
Deron Williams, Michael Redd, 2 good players, but again, they're not going to be in the hall. Dwayne Wade, who's already in, Kobe, who's already in, Dwight Howard, who's nominated this year, again, because of a weird rule. Well, not a weird rule.
Yeah, the change of the rules.
A change of the rule. Well, I'll just say that now. The Basketball Hall of Fame is I'll say it later when we get to Dwight or the other ones. Chris Bosh, who's already in, Chris Paul, who will be, Tayshaun Prince, who will not, and Carmelo Anthony. So Carmelo Anthony and Dwight Howard are both nominated for the first time.
They're nominated twice for the first time this year.
Yes. It's an interesting team choice. There's other teams that you could possibly go with. I don't have a problem with it.
No.
I don't know if they're going to get in, though. I don't know if that's necessarily in the pantheon of American basketball culture or basketball culture in general.
Yeah, I mean, they went 8-0 and won by an average of just under 28 points a game. So,
yeah. But if they're in, I don't have a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
We have one who was originally listed as a player. He really should be here as a coach, and that's one of their international. I think he's the only international one. Dušan Ivković, hope I'm pronouncing that right. I think I am. They
Mhm.
had him originally listed as a player, but he's already in the FIBA Hall of Fame. He was a decent player in the Yugoslavian league. Really, he's here as a coach.
Mhm.
For Yugoslavia and later Serbia, he won 3 Eurobasket gold medals and a FIBA World Gold Medal in 1990. So I think
Mhm.
when they initially put out the original list of preliminary list, and just to sort of like toot my own horn, uh, I put out an actual bio of every preliminary nominee, except for 3 because I couldn't figure out who they are.
Mhm.
Because I had to do it because the internet couldn't help me, and the Basketball Hall of Fame didn't tell me.
Got it.
So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Ivković, by the way, on the play, you're right. He should be here as a coach. On the player side, he was voted back in 2008 one of the 50 greatest EuroLeague basketball players.
mhm.
And he was a former coach of Draza Petrovic, Vlade Divac, and Peja Stojakovic over in Europe, among others. So,
Yeah. So, but realistically, I guess when you're international, if you're doing as Vinny Lasmanusa, our good friend, always like to say, the sum of the parts.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, if there's an international committee person, he seems pretty good as an option.
Oh no, fantastic,
Yeah, I mean
fantastic.
that they've made a correct choice in the international committee. So
Mhm. I don't have much to say on this one. Danny Crawford, referee. I admit my knowledge of referees are not much unless they are awful. Uh,
I mean, Danny Crawford was one of the good referees out there when he retired. So yeah, 2,000 regular season games, 300 playoff games, 30 NBA finals, worked 23 consecutive NBA finals, including the last game, which is game 5 of the 2017 finals. Also, he did the Dream Teams for his Olympic game, multiple All-Star games, stuff like that. Danny Crawford, if you can have a referee, that's a very, very good choice. There are very few referees who are as respected as Danny Crawford out there, put it that way. Because NBA referees, by and large, the fact you don't really know him that well is a good sign.
that is true. Angel Hernandez. uh, Marks Johnson, very, very good player. Won championship with UCLA. Uh, National College Player of the Year, 6-time All-Star, 5 with Milwaukee and 1 with the Clippers. For 3 All NBAs, 1 first team, and 2 second teams.
Yep. And number 8 jerseys retired by the Bucks. Won the inaugural John Wooden Award, and honestly was the prototype for the point forward that we have today. Kind of the first ball handling big man you could think of in NBA history. He is a good candidate, and I don't think he'll get in this time. He's someone that when they have a year where there's nobody, you'll see Marquez Johnson getting it.
Which was supposed to be this year.
We're supposed to be this year, yeah. Without the rule change, moving it from 5 years to 3 years, Marquez Johnson, or was it 3 to 2?
Yeah, because it went from 6 to 5, then 5
6
to
to 5,
3, and now it's 3 to 2. All right,
yeah.
we're here. Let's just talk about that, because this puts in 3 giant candidates. 2 we already mentioned, Carmelo and Dwight Howard, and Sue Bird.
Yep, Sue
Who
Bird
actually has a better resume than both of them.
correct. No question on that.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about those 3, but like you said, this would have been Johnson's year. Maybe someone else who we're going to talk about shortly. This would have been great for a lot of those people. But my theory has been, if they're doing this many times, they need the money.
They need the money.
And I looked where they are. Well, I looked at what I could find on Google from what was reported. So out of the 4 sports Hall of Fames that we generally cover, they're by far the least in attendance. Now,
because it's in Springfield, which is the middle of nowhere.
Which is what I was going to ask you, because you being a former Boston boy, you're still Boston there.
I'm 100. I still talk about Boston as my home. I've lived in the Chicago area for almost 9 years now.
Like Springfield, where is that in relation to Boston? I know I've driven through it, but I don't remember where it is.
It's depending on traffic, somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours west. So it's hard to drive 2 hours in the state of Massachusetts, or sorry, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But you're closer to Hartford and Albany than you are to Boston. So it's in a weird sort of place in between a whole bunch of stuff that, like, You're not like it's too far from Boston or New York for East Coast purposes. So it's like I said, on Springfield, not the most happening, nicest part of Massachusetts either. So,
And if Mark Johnson is your
headliner,
that's not going to sell tickets. No, and I'm not trying to disrespect the man.
no, but at this point, I agree. It's most people are not going to know who that is. My guess is you would need the 2008 men's Olympic basketball team and Marcus Johnson.
That would certainly help, but now you don't necessarily need them.
Correct.
Because of this, because your biggest name is dead. Not, I didn't mean for that to sound so callous, but
yeah.
Well, Kobe. Who was a better Kobe or LeBron?
I mean, LeBron would probably come if they did it. So
yeah, but a draw for people to come.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's
no. If he was,
I mean, I think it depends. The answer to that question. It depends who you talk to. There's a lot of Kobe versus LeBron versus Michael Jordan people out there, all of whom don't realize how much better Bill Russell was than all of them. But you know, that's so
when they both had they had their part-time jobs, so they couldn't focus on basketball.
Yeah, like they played against plumbers and stuff. Yeah, you know why they played against plumbers? Because they got $10 a game, so they needed a second job.
Yeah. Here's my most interesting finalist. I wasn't that familiar with her. I don't think I was familiar with her at all. Molly Bolin. So this is your women's veteran. I think she was in the women's veteran category.
Yes.
Superstar of the women's professional basketball league in the late 70s that a lot of people didn't see. And I'll say myself included. I tried to find some stuff on YouTube. I didn't try that hard, but as I learned more about her, she was sort of like that pinup of the era. She was a draw, but she was also good. You know, she was a 3-time All-Star and was the co-MVP in 1980. So it's a very interesting candidate. I'd like to see a 30 for 30 on that league.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. So yeah, but it's definitely for the senior committee. I mean, the greatest player in the history of the Iowa Cornets. So yeah, absolutely seems like a very good choice. And you're right. There are a lot of photos of her in sort of pinup sort of mode for the late 70s, early 80s. So
well, it was the bounce and jiggle era.
I suppose. At least it was the bare midriff era. So
all right. Well, Buck Williams, there's another person who, if they didn't change the rule and he was a finalist, would kind of finally waltz right in, I think.
I think it'd be harder. I think Marquez Johnson versus Williams. Johnson's a better candidate, but continue with Buck Williams.
Okay. Well, former Rookie of the Year, 3-time All-Star, 4-time All-Defensive selection. Good career numbers, over 16,000 points and 13,000 rebounds.
Yep. 16th all-time in total rebounds, but 3rd in offensive rebounds, which is interesting. But yeah. 3rd overall pick at 81 draft. His number 52 is retired by the Nets in 1999. Helped. I always think of him first with the Trailblazers because he was on those 90 and 92 teams that made it to the finals. The 90 team that lost to the Pistons and the 92 team that lost to the Bulls. I would think Buck Williams, Kevin Duckworth, Clyde Drexler, those guys all together. But yeah, Buck Williams, very, very good very, very good choice. He certainly would have a better chance without Anthony and Howard here. But I don't even know if that would have been enough to get him in yet.
Well, depending on what other finalists they could have drawn.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Former finalist, Jennifer Ozzie is here.
Mm-hmm.
Former College Player of the Year, 1990, champion with Stanford, won gold with the U.S. in 1996, 2 FIBA championships. Already in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. So she's here again.
Yep.
Although she'll be hurt by someone I'm going to mention shortly, I would think.
Yeah, I think there are 3 other people who are going to be ahead of her.
Well, here's a great one. You can't say Gonzaga without saying Mark Few.
Yeah.
First time that he is here, and He's still their head coach. He took a team that I think, I don't think I'm wrong to say that maybe 20 years ago, if you said Gonzaga, you'd say Gesundheit.
Well, they had some guy named John Stockton there.
Sure. But safe to say, Gonzaga was always sort of like that scrappy underdog team that you're struggling to recruit.
Mm-hmm.
Now they are the powerhouse in the Pacific Northwest. I believe they're going to be moving to, or if they already have, my college realignment is.
It doesn't matter.
Basketball. No, it doesn't matter. You're right about that. Took
but,
them to
coach. College basketball is being destroyed, or college sports is being destroyed by players making money, not the league team. Schools making money by changing leagues all over the place to destroy traditional rivalries. It's the players, I tell you. Could I be wrong about this? No, it's the children's fault.
College sports is one of those things where, I mean, like you've got more integrity than I have. I think that's pretty obvious to anyone watching. Take the compliment. I thought that was good.
Thanks.
But NCAA is something that I watch a lot of, and I have to take a shower every time I do it. Mm. But 2 Final Fours, 2-time Coach of the Year. Yeah, he hasn't won a title, but he's taken a program that, again, all right, come on, kids, you get to go to Spokane.
Yeah, no.
That's not easy.
Yeah, I know.
But so, sorry, go ahead.
As you say, I think few walks in if this is. I think I have a hard time believing Mark Few can not be a member of this class.
Same. Well, staying in the Pac Northwest, someone whose retired number you can see at Climate Pledge, Sue Bird. One of the greatest women's basketball players of all time, one of the most known women's players of all time, someone who would draw a crowd, and someone who's also a beneficiary of the 3-2 rule.
Yes, correct.
To get her in. Former College Player of the Year, an absolute icon here in Seattle, where I now reside. 4 championships with the Storm, 13 All-Stars, 5 first-team All-WNBAs, 5 gold medals, 4 World Championships.
21 seasons with the Storm. 21. That's a lot. All-time leader in wins, games played, assists, and minutes. Mm-hmm. Also led UConn to 2 titles in 2000, 2002. That might get people to Springfield as well. UConn to Springfield is not a very big trip.
That's actually true. Let's see, we can't sleep on the UConn women's basketball hoop fans, because that's all
that state really has at this point is college hoops,
and just old Whalers jerseys.
Yeah, and Brass Bonanza, may it rest in peace. That's what they used to play every time the Whalers scored. Anyway, continue.
Well, another. Speaking of UConn, look at this segues just working all over the place.
Amazing.
Ryan Moore.
Yeah. 4-time NBA champion.
Yeah, with Minnesota, a scoring title, a steals title, 2 Olympic golds, 2 worlds, and you're behind Sue Bird after everything we just read. That's a great one.
So she was league MVP, 6-time All-Star, only played 7 years in the NBA because she's left basketball to focus on criminal justice reform. So, 1 of 25 greatest players in WNBA history, first overall pick in the 11th draft, 2-time College Player of the Year, also UConn, 2 FIBA World Cup golds, 2 Olympic gold medals, 2 NCAA titles, back-to-back undefeated seasons with UConn. I know she played 7 years professionally, but what else did she have to win?
No, exactly.
One of the winningest players in the history of women's basketball.
Also, too, in an era where, unless you were a very, very, very select few, you weren't going to make a whole lot of money anyway.
Correct.
I forgot there is a second international candidate, Tal Brody, college player at Illinois, but after he competed in the Maccabi Games in Israel, I was asked to play there. He fell in love with the country, and he put Maccabi Tel Aviv and Israeli basketball on the map. And that's actually the tagline he is known for. And I did go to Israel many years ago. And one of the things I did try to find, I got a Maccabi Tel Aviv soccer jersey, which unfortunately I don't really fit in anymore. Let's just say the middle-aged spread version 2.0 sort of beat me there, but Israeli basketball is a thing. Actually, no, I did see them play. Now that I remember this, they beat I think they beat the Raptors in a preseason game the year I had seasons.
Interesting.
Yeah. Jerry Welsh. I guess you're going through the high school things for this one, or is this Division III? I apologize. Is head coach at SUNY Potsdam? I don't. Mm-hmm. Oh, so that must be Division III.
That's Division III. Yeah.
Okay. Record of 494 and 141. 2 national championships.
Yeah. So, So also 3 Final Four appearances in the Final 3 in the Division III. And then coached at Iona for 4 years. There are a couple of those like minor league, not minor, but smaller school, high school ones that are hard to get in. But it's good to see that he's nominated here. That's all I can say.
Billy Donovan, head coach of Chicago Bulls right now, but it's what he did at the University of Florida.
Yeah.
4 SEC tournament championships, 4 Final Fours, and 2 titles back-to-back, 2006 and 2007. 3 SEC Coach of the Years. Was also a former coach at Marshall and Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yep. Who's the last player from those Florida teams still in the NBA?
Was Horford there?
Al Horford is the correct answer. Yeah, I was going to say the only Dominican ever to win a NBA title.
Yep. I always forget that's where he's from.
Yeah, it's Dominican Republic.
Nice.
So, yeah. Billy Donovan, it's kind of like had he just stayed at Florida, it would have been an easier thing than what's been going on with him in Chicago here. I feel bad.
Yeah. That could hurt because he's got a better resume than Mark Few.
Yeah.
Mark Few's probably got a better shot.
I think Few has a better shot. Agreed.
Here's an interesting one. Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard is a polarizing figure because of a lot of off-court shenanigans. I don't know that we want to litigate and talk about that here. He was, fortunately, what looked like was going, he was sued. That got taken care of, lucky for him. So he didn't need any more sort of details about his personal life coming out. Mm-hmm. But on the court, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 8-time All-Star, 5-time first-team All-NBA. And his path is from everything he did in Orlando. Because once he got to LA, his career, the second half of his career became very, very interesting. He became a journeyman who either wasn't liked, couldn't fit a scheme, and was sort of struggling in some cases to sort of fit as the ball sort of moved further and further away from the rim. Mm-hmm. Overall, I think he's a Hall of Famer. I remember what he did in Orlando, bringing them to a finals. Well, they had really no business being there, but he did do that. Howard could be an odd man out here, and if Howard even gets in there, is Howard a draw? And then I keep bringing up a draw because I think that's how they have to think. Why did they make all these changes? And we also don't know, and Evan and I have lamented about this many times, and we're going to do this again for anyone watching this for the first time. We don't know who decides this.
Correct, at all.
We don't know the process. We're told who the finalists are, and thanks for that. But we don't know how big a group is that meets, if there's a group at all. If it's the all-powerful Oz, who the hell knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will also say he also is better known to a lot of people now for finishing in 6th place with Dead with the Stars this past fall. He was eliminated in the 500th episode. That must mean something. That is funny, your reaction to that. I mean, he won 1 title with the bubble Lakers in 2020. But he was a dominant force and one of the best players in the league for 8 years. And then completely got so weird, nobody really wanted him for a while. So
On the plus side, though, if he does get in, that Hall of Fame weekend is going to be great for transgender escorts.
I'm not reacting to that one whatsoever.
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hey, you do. Yeah. I'm not kink shaming. You do you.
I get it. 100% not kink shaming. So I will say, I think he, of the two headliners here on the male side, because I think Sue Bird is 100% headliner, but on the male side, the two headliners, I think they're both getting in, but I think he's got a slightly lesser chance than the other.
I totally agree. Going to ownership, Mickey Arison bought the Heat in 1995, still owns them, I believe. 3 titles. Hard to argue with that.
Nope. Again, great coaching or ownership candidate. Absolutely. So,
Sylvia Fowles, another great player here. One of the best defensive players that ever graced the WNBA. Split her career with Chicago and Minnesota, winning 2 titles with the Lynx, and was a final. And here's a big kicker for me: when it really mattered, 2-time Finals MVP, 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 3-time First Team All WNBA, 4 gold medals.
Yep, all-time retired as WNBA's all-time leading rebounder on 2 of those championship teams with Maya Moore. Again, I don't know how many WNBA players are letting in. She's somebody who will be in the Hall of Fame someday. This is just Sue Bird's 1, Maya Moore's 2.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvia Fowles falls to 3 because of this, and Jennifer Otzi's 4 for me.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised we see Bird and Moore, and Fowles has to wait a
year. Yeah, very possible. Because again, we don't know how many they're going to put in. Carmelo Anthony, that's sort of the final nominee. Probably I'm sure he was planning his trip next year. Now he gets to do it this year. Unlike Dwight Howard, who was jobbed to Anthony Davis for that 75th anniversary spot. Mm-hmm. And whether when it's all said and done, Davis is going to be, you want to put Davis overall ahead of Howard, fine. But at the time when that came out,
agreed.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it just sort of goes back to that whole thing of there's a lot of people who don't like Dwight Howard.
That is entirely true.
Yeah. Melo was a member of the 75th anniversary team. A big thing, and I remember this like it was yesterday, which is so crazy. So I remember watching that entire, as much as I could, of that 2003 tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that tournament ridiculously well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he was the best player in that tournament by far, blocking that block at the end. I mean, not somebody you would think of necessarily being a defensive force, but that block as a freshman at the end in that championship game was amazing. So,
well, yeah, and defensively, when he became a pro, he was far more offensive oriented. Mm-hmm. He got criticized, rightfully so, for maybe not caring about defense, but he was, again, I'm using this word again, he was a draw. He was a must-watch player. He, drafted in Denver, but it didn't go where he wanted it to. Forced to trade to New York, and New York was much-watched basketball for a long, long time. Never made an MVP, but it was close on a couple occasions. 6-time All-NBA, which, how many was first team? One first team, 2 second team, 3 third team. One scoring title, over 28,000 points. Internationally, he showed up for the U.S. Very well. 3 goals on that Redeem team that we talked about, also with 2012, 2016. His time after New York, Oklahoma City and Houston were not good, but he found himself again, much like Russell Westbrook is this year, and sort of took the stink off that he had where he was in Portland.
Yeah.
I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. If anyone's going to be, like the actual headliner. I think you and I both agree that the person with the best resume by far is Sue Bird. That doesn't
Correct.
necessarily mean she'll headline it.
Correct. But Sue Bird is no, when they do the class announcement, they have, the three names at the top. Put it this way, and they announced the finalists. It was Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Sue Bird, and I would have done at least reverse Bird and Howard in that order.
Yeah, if I control the headline, I would have done that too.
Yeah. So, I don't think there's any question Carmelo Anthony is going to walk into this. Mm-hmm. So my guess is, presuming there are 7, I'm just going to say 7 because we have no idea how many of these people are getting in. I'm just saying, looking at this, if there are 7 who are getting in, I think it's a 2008 men's basketball team. Carmelo, Mark Few, Dwight Howard, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, and the international guy, Dušan Ivković, I think.
I can pretty much agree with that. The only thing I would switch is I think they might hold back on the 2018.
Okay.
Just again, why? Because
I said because why? They don't need it now.
Right. Yes.
They would have needed it if they didn't move the year.
So. And I got a wild card here. Actually, I think they're going to go 2 more.
Okay.
You will go in.
Yeah, I had that.
And Mickey Arison.
Mickey Arison is the other one. Yeah, I had a few on my list. So Mickey Arison, if there is no 2018, I'd say Arison is the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, because who got in last year that was a bit of a surprise to me. I'm blanking on his name. It was the Pacers owner.
Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up. I had it open and I actually just closed it. Hold on. Oh yeah. It's right. There's the file is corrupt. That's not helping me. 2024.
I remember him when he played high school ball. Actually, that'd be a good name for a pro wrestler.
The file is corrupt.
Or just Philus Corrupt.
Philus Corrupt. I like it. So class of 2024 is going to be Vince Carter, Chauncey Mills, Michael Cooper, Walter Davis, Bo Ryan, Charles Smith, Doug Collins, Herb Simon.
That's the one. Okay.
Yeah. So last year they had everybody basically got in last year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They had 13 last year. So it'd be hard to not get in, apparently, from what we have as a list. So,
well, congratulations to these finalists. I think we're gonna chop this in parts because we're gonna go to the Rock Hall. So like that way, if you're interested in the Rock Hall, go to that one after. If you're tired of not watching anymore, us talk about. If you don't want to hear Rock, then there you go. You're done. How about that?
Great, hell of a transition.
Yeah, fantastic. Good thing I was an English major in school. Which qualified me for a job with a paper hat.
Yeah.
And doing this. So here we go.
Yeah.
But I'm a public figure.
Anyway. All right. So we're going to pause here for a second.
Yeah, we're going to pause here for a bit. So for those who aren't continuing, thank you so much for your support. I'm going to do that cheesy shit that I always hate, but let's do it. Like, subscribe, follow us, recommend us to your friends, do a bunch of comments. We've been getting some more comments that maybe we'll read that. Maybe we'll read that after. I'll put on my Charles Nelson Riley glasses because that's the only way I can sort of see them. But we'll do that in part 2. All right. Thanks for everything. And thanks for your support.